does God exist? This is probably one of the biggest questions that humanity has ever asked, if not the biggest. Now, we all have different ideas of what God is. Even atheists who don't believe in God, or agnostics who don't believe in God, but are open to the idea, have an idea of what God is, usually tinged by the religious or spiritual beliefs that they're around in their society, anywhere around the world, or by what their parents told them, or by what they have read. We all have an idea, well, the vast majority of people have an idea of what God is to them. But there are many things about God that are not known by other people if God exists. There are so many different opinions and so many tenets to opinions that whatever the biggest truth is about God, if there is one ultimate truth about God, it is just almost impossible that everybody would know it, because there are so many different beliefs, there are so many different acknowledgments of what the universe is and how it relates to us and who created it, God being the subject of this video. But as a believer in God, I believe in God. I believe in God as the source, the spirit beyond creation. I'm Hindu, and I believe there is, of course, the negative side of the astral realm, then the material realm, then the astral realm, then the causal realm, then the spirit beyond creation. And these dimensions have a bunch of different layers in each of them. They have a bunch of different relations to time in each of them. They have a bunch of different kinds of beings in different areas, especially the astral realm. The astral realm technically includes something like the heavens and the hells, but they are vastly disconnected as far as, even though they're in the same realm, there's a very definite line. You can think of the hells being as mansions, and the positive sides of the astral realms being the beings that can fly around and through and above these mansions that are the hells, and the realms of suffering that we fall into when our consciousness needs to be refreshed. It needs to work out its desires, and it needs to understand what it has done wrong. And once that happens, I believe that we come back up to the material realm in order to work out in order to work towards God, work towards the understanding and realization that is inherent in the nature of a soul. But these are my beliefs, and this doesn't really have to do with does God exist necessarily, that question. So let me get back to that, because I've been digressing. The reason that I think that God exists is a combination of faith and logic. Now, if you're just trying to work out a mathematical equation of why God exists, or a complete scientific proof of God existing, then I can't provide that to you. I'm not somebody who can do that. I wasn't raised in any religion. My parents are atheists, but as I started to examine the world and try and understand suffering and humanity itself, there are certain things about humanity that made me think that there is a source that we may call God for the purposes of this video. To me, it always felt like there was something just behind the reality. There's always something behind the fabric that we take for granted that is 3D materiality. I always felt like there was more and deeper dimensions to everything, and that there was a source of all of these creations, this material realm, all the different dimensions around us, which many scientists believe there are many different dimensions, and damn near infinite universes in which choices just around the choices that we've made in this universe are slightly different than as you go out among more and more universes that are almost like our own. The choices get different, and these universes are always being created because there are always different choices being made, and our relation to time in this universe makes it very likely that time exists differently in the dimensions surrounding this universe. And those dimensions existing, there's been some proof as far as there's a cold spot in our universe that really doesn't make sense. There's been some science coming about that recently, as if our reality is bumping up against another one that's just right next to us, but not really in this universe. And there are many different theories about the Big Bang, how many there have been, what the nature of the Big Bang was like just before it happened, and how time and dimension worked in that little tiny pea shape before all of the galaxies expanded out in this universe. And there's so much majesty that I think that there was a designer. Now, I'm not saying that this is proof. I'm not saying that I have proof that there's a creator, but it makes me think that there is. Throughout human history, we've come up with different ideas to explain how all of this works. We have always wondered as a species why we're here, if there is a source to that created us, and basically had a design for why we're here, and what we can do for each other in reaching a more united state spiritually. The idea of a spirit and a soul being more connected to everything around us than our physical body makes apparent. Now, I don't believe that if there's a God, that God is necessarily separate from everything. I think that the seemingly infinite space that we see in this universe and the likelihood of other universes around our own and possibly different dimensions, so it's a slightly multi-dimension theory is a slightly different thing than the idea of different universes where time and choices kind of split off around the space that we take for granted as being the only universe that is here when there are actually probably more. But I do think that the people that we are and have always been as a humanity feels like we're always going towards something. Like we're always going towards an ultimate realization of an ultimate unity that is that's progressive, and will lead us to greater and greater unity with the nature of reality itself. It seems like humanity, able to understand itself, will attribute greatly to the evolution of the universe. Now, how does matter, how does space, how does energy evolve? Well, it always feels like everything here is working towards harmony. It's trying to always collaborate in a way that helps everything exist, especially the theory of relativity, as far as different planets being relative to one another, different energies exchanging in the cosmos, are always creating time itself. Time being an illusion except for relativity. Without relativity, without things being relative to one another, we wouldn't have time. And it feels like a system that's been in place, that was put in place. And the question, does God exist? I don't know. Like Socrates, I think there's only one thing that I really know, is that I don't know anything. And you have to know of a great many things in order to realize you know nothing, because you just have a fish line that you're trying to catch. You're trying to catch fish on in different areas of study, different histories, different ethical understandings, different cultures, different mathematical equations, different societal ideas and theories for how society should work. You're always trying to catch something, at least I am. And I know enough to throw out those fish lines and try to look for answers, but I don't really know what the answers are. And I hope that this kind of inspires you to realize that we don't really know if God exists. We can say that we know. We can say, okay, my parents are right, my religion is right, and my theories are correct because, my religion says that it's correct, and I have to say that whatever my Messiah or my prophet basically foretold is true. And for many religions, you do have to say that. You have to say, okay, this is the truth. That's part of the religion. But when you think deeply within yourself, and you don't have to admit this to other people, do you truly know what the nature of reality is, and if God exists? Do you really know if God exists? Do you have absolute proof for yourself? And if you have absolute proof for yourself, and the proof that you have is enough for your understanding, then more power to you. But I know that I know nothing. and that every idea about God that I have, about reality that I have, about even my own existence that I have, is only my best guess. And everything that I say on my YouTube channel most definitely is just my best guess. So maybe we can work together and make some great guesses and work through some of the problems that we encounter when exploring the idea of God, exploring the idea that he exists or doesn't exist, or if it's a he or a she or an it, which an it makes more sense to me because there wouldn't be a sex to a God. There wouldn't be a literal body. It would be the kind of the brain in an infinite body of creation, of light, of energy, and of universes, of dimensions. But before I get too much further, I thank you very much for watching. This has been more of a rant about does God exist than anything. And I've been doing a lot of rants recently, but I hope they've been entertaining to you. I hope that maybe they make you think about some ideas about God that you didn't think about before. And if it did, feel free to hit that thumbs up down there. And I'm always open to questions. If you want to have any questions or comments, just shoot them down there in the comment section below. And hey, let's see if God exists together.